you beautiful third graders out there. It's so nice to see you again. My name is Mrs. Cool. I'm the reading coach at J.B. Fisher Elementary School. And today we're going to continue drawing conclusions in poetry. So as I present my screen to you, I want you to think about what we talked about yesterday. What do we use to draw conclusions? And we're just about ready to begin. Here we go. We're going to start with our learning target. I can draw conclusions using evidence from the text and my background knowledge while reading poetry. So let's review. What is a conclusion? A conclusion is something you figure out that is not directly stated or explained in the text. We make inferences and draw conclusions while we read everything, and it's particularly important while we're reading poetry. We use evidence in the text, that is what the poem says, and our own background knowledge, that's what we already know, to draw conclusions. And drawing conclusions helps us better understand what we're reading. We can draw conclusions about the who, that's the characters in the poem, what is happening in the poem, when the poem takes place, where the poem takes place, and why something is happening. And today we're going to focus on characters. And we're going to use several poems written by Shel Silverstein. You have probably heard of Shel Silverstein. He's a wonderful author and poet. He's written many, many things, including this book here, The Giving Tree. You're probably familiar with this one. He's also written many books of poetry, including Where the Sidewalk Ends and A Light in the Attic, just to name a few. And he also writes, he has some really silly, funny characters in his poems. So that's going to be our focus today. The first poem we're going to read is called Sick by Shel Silverstein. And again, while we're reading and listening to the poem, I want you to think about what the poem actually says about the character, what you already know, and then we're going to draw a conclusion about the character. Her name is Peggy Ann McKay.
Sick by Shel Silverstein. I cannot go to school today, said little Peggy Ann McKay. I have the measles and the mumps, a gash, a rash, and purple pumps. My mouth is wet, my throat is dry. I'm going blind in my right eye. My tonsils are as big as rocks. I've counted 16 chicken pox. And there's one more, that's 17. And don't you think my face looks green? My leg is cut, my eyes are blue. It might be instamatic flu. I cough and sneeze and gasp and choke. I'm sure that my left leg is broke. My hip hurts when I move my chin. My belly button's caving in. My back is wrenched, my ankle's sprained. My appendix pains each time it rains. My nose is cold, my toes are numb. I have a sliver in my thumb. My neck is stiff, my voice is weak. I hardly whisper when I speak. My tongue is filling up my mouth. I think my hair is falling out. My elbow is bent, my spine ain't straight. My temperature is 108. My brain is shrunk, cannot hear. There is a hole inside my ear. I have a hangnail and my heart is what? What's that you say? You say today is Saturday. Goodbye, I'm going out to play.
So what does the poem actually say? The poem is saying that the character, Peggy Ann McKay, she's claiming to be very sick, right? She gives all of these different ailments and issues that she's having. She feels terrible. But when she finds out that it's actually Saturday, all of a sudden she feels great, right? And I know that sometimes we pretend to be sick so that we don't have to go to school. So we can conclude from this poem that Peggy Ann McKay felt fine. She was really faking it to skip school. She wasn't really sick, was she? We're going to read another one of Shel Silverstein's poems. It's called Sybil, the Magician's Last Show. So I want you to read along with me and think about what the poem's saying about this character, Sybil, what you already know, so we can draw a conclusion about what happens to her. Magical Sybil was much too cheap to buy her rabbit a carrot. He grew so thin, just bones and skin, so starved he couldn't bear it. And so, as she reached into her hat to grab him by the ears, she felt a tug, she felt a pull, and whap, she disappeared. The greatest act we've ever seen. We cheered for Magical Sybil. But all that remained was a hat and a cape and the sound of a bunny going nibble, nibble, nibble. So, what does the poem say about Sybil? We're going to work on this together and think about what the poem actually says, what we know about this, and what we can then conclude. And if you'd like to work along with me, again, you can print this graphic organizer or just create a simple one on your own by folding a piece of paper into 3 parts. So what does the poem say about Sybil? Sybil was cheap. It says that in the first line. Magical Sybil was much too cheap to buy her rabbit a carrot. And her rabbit grew very, very thin, says it right in the 3rd line. He grew so thin, just bones and skin. We also know that Sybil disappears at the end, and the audience cheered. So what do I know about this? What do I know about rabbits? Well, I know rabbits have to have food to survive, right? So we can conclude that the rabbit got revenge and ate Sybil. We can also conclude that the setting of this poem was at a magic show based on the fact that there was an audience and the audience cheered. Here's another poem by Shel Silverstein called Messy Room. We're going to read this together and then we're going to practice drawing conclusions again. Messy room. Whose ever room this is should be ashamed. His underwear is hanging on the lamp. His raincoat is there in the overstuffed chair, and the chair is becoming quite mucky and damp. His workbook is wedged in the window. His sweater's been thrown on the floor. His scarf and one ski are beneath the TV, and his pants have been carelessly hung on the door. His books are all jammed in the closet. His vest has been left in the hall. A lizard named Ed is asleep in his bed, and his smelly old sock has been stuck to the wall. Whose ever room this is should be ashamed. Donald or Robert or Willie or, huh? You say it's mine? Oh dear. I knew it looked familiar. So I really want you to try working with this poem on your own or with an adult who's with you. Create or print the graphic organizer, and I want you to think about this question. Who does this room actually belong to? Who does this messy room belong to? Think about what the poem says and what you already know. And what can you conclude? So if you need to stop and pause the video now, you can to work on this. So this was my thinking about the poem Messy Room. The poem says the room is very, very messy. The speaker of the poem. Now, this is a little different from character. Character is the person in the poem, like Sybil was a character, Peggy Ann McKay was a character. In this poem, it's not a character by name, but the speaker who's actually talking in the poem. The speaker is definitely familiar with this room. So that's what the poem says. What I know about this is we don't usually go snooping into other people's messy rooms. It has to be someone real close to us, right? And also when the speaker says, huh, I kind of got a clue that the messy room is actually the speaker's room. He's talking about his own room. So I hope you enjoyed that poem. And what I would like you to do on your own time is explore some of Shel Silverstein's work. His website is right here. It's www.shelsilverstein.com. This is linked on your learning path, but you can also just Google it. And when you click or find his website, there are lots of things you can explore here and many poems that you can read on your own. So I want you to do some exploring and watch some of these videos and read some more of Shel Silverstein's poems. And for your reading response, I would like you to describe Shel Silverstein's writing. What do you like or dislike about it? That is your reading response for today after you've done a little bit more exploring of Shel Silverstein's work. And your independent practice today is, again, on commonlit.org. I'd like you to read the poem The Mysterious Egg by Jennifer Mann. And again, you can go to commonlit.org or you can print the PDF of this poem and the questions. There are guiding questions, assessment questions. There are also some discussion questions that you can work on with an adult. I've had a wonderful time again with you today exploring more poetry, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Bye.